Hey fans, welcome to Hangin' with the Z-Man. This is episode 3. We're going to do something a little bit different. In this episode, we're going to feature Jim Vanderbeek, Zach's dad. A lot of what he does with the team, outside of run the team in general, is tire prep. We've got a lot of nicknames for him like Dr. Tire, etc., etc. He's a guru of tires for the team, saves the team a bunch of money, gets a lot of longevity out of our tires. So in detail, we're going to look tonight at how he preps a lot of those tires, and a lot of times you'll see us working around the trailer on that and give you a little insight to how that works. And then Zach and I are going to go up front on the front of the car and do a little work with the toe, show you how that works, and we're going to wrap up.
Hi, I'm Jim Vanderbeek, Zach's dad. One of my jobs on the 33Z team is to do some of the tire work. The tire work is a big part of your performance on the track. When we get a new order of tires in, and we have several of them to choose from, the first thing we do is we measure each tire to see what size it is. By doing this with the tape measure, we get the circumference around the outside edge. The purpose of this is that we want to determine where we're going to put this tire on the car. We want stagger. Typically the right front, right rear will be larger than the left side tires. These can vary 1-2 inches sometimes. So after that's done, then you'll have a tire that is mounted up that will be for right or left side. So again, we're measuring these to determine what size they are. If it's a little bigger, it's going to be a right side tire. If it's a little smaller, like this tire, it'll be a left side tire. Now that we have the tire mounted and balanced, some of the things that we do when we start with a brand new tire is we have to initially deglaze it. And I'm going to show you a little bit now about just a couple of seconds of how we deglaze this tire with a grinder. After we've completely ground the tire and have that part of it done, we're going to do a couple of other things that is part of the process of getting this tire ready to go on the car and on the track. With our rules of the American Racer tire, we're allowed to use a groover. This is my groover that allows us to re-groove and put different patterns into the tires. Each team kind of has a different aspect of how they do that. What we do today might be different tomorrow. We're always trying to make things better and make the tire quicker and work better on the track. So after we've done with the grooving that we've done, then we also have another tool that we use to prepare this tire. It's called the siper. And this puts shallow marks in the tire that helps it breathe and keeps it cooler and gives us better performance on the track. All right, now I'm going to show you a little bit about how the groover and the siper works. We'll start with the groover first. As you can see, what this is doing is cutting rubber deeper into each of the treads. When you do the complete tire, we've calculated that it's an excess of 300 cuts on this tire. Now we'll do a little work with the siper. This particular siper has the option for lots of blades, so in this particular setting now we have 5 blades in this siper. And we're going to bring those across and make cuts into the tire. Now, if you watch different teams do this, you'll see a different variety of how people do this. But from the start to finish, in doing this tire, when we took the new tire, mounted it, did the grinding, did the grooving and the siping and get it ready to go on the car, it takes well over an hour to prepare each tire to get ready to go on the track.
Another thing we do at the tire prepping stand is a thing called needling. It's an attachment that's bolted on extra on the tire prepping stand here. This tire prepping stand is built by CPD Tools. Denny Fuller builds an excellent piece here to make our job a little easier on the road on getting these things prepped the way we need to prep them. But the needling process is just off this attachment on this bar, so you can go all the way across the tire. And there's a couple different ways you can needle. Some guys go straight in, or you can kind of do a crosshatch pattern and kind of angle the needler across the tire. This process helps dissipate the heat, keeps the tire from glazing over when the track conditions are super dry, slick. You want to be careful with this needler. It's really sharp. I don't do it a lot. I got guys like Chris and Donnie and my dad. They all take care of this kind of stuff, but it's a pretty simple thing to do. I'll show you how to do it here real quick. This would just be the straight-on method here. Just basically have the needler square with the tire, and you just push it straight in. Use a moderate amount of pressure. That way the needles get in there deep. The other way you can do it is angle it. And this really kind of puts a little more strain on the motor, but we found that it kind of helps get those marks in there a little nicer. You can kind of hear the motor bogging down there. So that's just a couple ways we needle a tire with this attachment that some of you have seen and wondered what that actually does, and that's just one other tool we do to help us perform on the racetrack.
Okay guys, what we're going to do now is take a minute and explain the bead lock wheel, bead lock itself, why we use it, how it works. On the right side of the car, we run a bead lock. If you notice, you'll see this ring with a bunch of bolts around it on the right side of the car. We have to use these because the amount of horsepower that we run, combined with the very low air pressures that we run in these tires, on the right side of the car, compared to what you have in your street car for air pressure, was probably, maybe in the mid-30s as far as tire pressure that you should be running. We're running less than half of that. And if you don't have a bead lock, because of the side force on the tire itself, when Zach's got it pitched in the turn, it wants to pull that tire right off the rim. So this little ring attaches right to the rim, and then in between is the bead of the tire. There are 16 bolts that hold on this ring, and they do an excellent job. You'll find these in off-road racing applications. Drag racers use a bead lock wheel. They're really important in drag racing because they're talking about thousands of horsepower. You'll see sometimes somebody's got a big four-wheel drive truck and it has simulated bead lock rims. It'll have a bunch of bolts around the outside of the rim. Those are just fake. It's illegal to run a bead lock on a licensed vehicle on the street. So real quick, I'll show you. Got my Aero race wheel here. Big supporters of us. We're very thankful for what they do for the team. Got my American Racer tire. So when we're mounting these up, you just take the tire real simply. It's a lot easier when you're not on camera, I suppose. As you can see, this is the bead, and then it mounts flush to the rim. So then we come back in, got our bead lock ring, laid on the tire. The bead is in between this spot right here and the rim itself. Then we take 16 of these bolts, run them all the way around the rim, take our little impact wrench, tighten them down, and then usually we always tighten them by hand with just a regular wrench. When we talked about the rear end of the car, when we were changing the rear gear, if you remember, we talked about watching it with stripping the bolts and potentially breaking a bolt and making sure that you work carefully. You will see more broken and stripped bolts
working with these bead lock wheels than anywhere. So we always have a large stock of these bolts ready to go because they're under tremendous pressure, and sometimes they just wear out. You put them back in, you go to tighten them, and the head just snaps off. So we use a pretty slick way to get them out of the wheel. It's not really that big of a deal, but that's the bead lock. That's how it works. And now you know, when you're sitting in the stands hanging out with everybody, you can sit and explain it to all your friends.
Here we are at the front of the car. Zach and I are going to show you how we set the toe. You'll see cars pull out on the track and they've got that white stripe painted on the left front tire and the right front tire. That's because they've just set the toe on the car. We're going to talk about that right now.
A lot of times I get accused of running a little too low on the racetrack, and you can clip things like a tire, or as simple as, we race so close to other cars, we bang wheels, that can knock the toe out. But there's actually a story. One time at Deer Creek Speedway, track photographer Buck Munson, I was so low on the racetrack there, I actually clipped his leg, and we had to come in and reset the toe. It actually bent a few things. We had to replace some stuff. So right now we'll show you how we paint the tire. Take this little tool here, set it on the ground. Make sure you hold it nice and steady, and turn the tire here. And it grabs a nice straight line all the way around the tire. We've already painted the right front, so what I'll do now is Chris will hold the tape.
It's just like a cooking show.
Yeah.
This one's already done.
I'll hold it right on the line here and he'll read me the measurement.
65 and 3/16.
Okay, then we'll go to the back of the tire. And he'll read me this measurement.
64 and a half.
Now there's a lot of separation there, but typically we'll set the toe when the car's on the ground. We have it on jack stands here in the shop, so our toe is quite a little ways off there. But typically you're wanting to anywhere from 1/8 of an inch to 1/2 an inch. Some guys even run more, but you never want toe in. Toe out is what you always want, which is a wider spacing at the front of the tire than at the back. So that's kind of how we check the toe, and you want to make sure that alignment's right so you can be as fast as you want to be on the racetrack.
And drivers, keep those photographers off that inside line. It's kind of the equivalent of throwing a little chin music in a baseball game. Buck, you know what we're talking about, and we're watching you. So, thanks for coming by, hanging with the Z-Man. Zach, thank you. Thanks to all our sponsors. You can find us on the web at facebook.com/Zach Vanderbeek Racing. You can find Zach on Twitter @Zach Vanderbeek. See you next time.